Okay, good morning. It's an early one today. Trying to get ahead of myself, so just gonna quickly come to you guys and document what I've been running through for the last week. Just trying to keep myself and you up to speed with some of my research. So, ideally, for the last 7 days, a little bit longer perhaps, since I spoke to you guys, I've been starting to develop my literature review. Now, as I'd mentioned in previous videos, I've already written some work surrounding VR streaming and immersive audio, and I just wanted to kind of step away from that. So while I've written some something already, I'm going to cut across to my other screen here. So I've got my dissertation document, and I've actually started writing into this now, and I will come back to that in a minute. But I felt it was important at this point to step back from what I already knew and to take a new look at what I was trying to achieve. Now, I've spoken about MPEG-H before, and it's quite clearly on review of new documentation the way forward in terms of streaming immersive audio for virtual reality. One thing that has really become prevalent to me in the last week is I've been reading the VR industry guidelines. So let's jump across to that. So here we have the VR industry guidelines. Now, first thing on the screen here is an example architecture, and actually this example architecture, was written in 2017. This was written in revised only a couple of months ago. And we see in very similar kind of network architectures coming up. Now, these network architectures are all based around where have I put it? MPEG OMAF, which is the omnidirectional media format. Now, this is this is the new standard. It is a standard. It's now an ISO, a published ISO standard that describes how we can stream virtual reality content. So, and it's actually going to go on into the future and describe 6 degrees of freedom content, and it's going to move with the format. So it's all part of MPEG-I, which is MPEG Immersive Media, which is this kind of MPEG-I is basically describing how the format of virtual reality is going to move into the future. MPEG OMAF currently describes exactly how we can stream content. Now, a big portion of this is the video tiling. So in current formats, we just going to pop back to me here. In current formats, we stream the whole video. So that might be a 4K video for virtual reality, and if you imagine that that's the whole scene around you streamed all the time, now that takes up a lot of bandwidth. So one of the main things is we're using a HEVC encoding to encode tiles of the scene rather than the whole scene, so that we can reduce the amount of bandwidth. Now, that's defined within MPEG OMAF, and so is spatial audio. Now, let me pop over to this here. also described, so I'm in the VR industry guidelines here. So this will be a very important document for my research. It's this is version 2, which was July this year, and it goes so far. If I can find it quick enough, I don't want to hang around too much. There's some pretty technical stuff in here. But there are some verticals down the bottom here, and as you can see, VR live streaming, which is perfect. This is kind of exactly this is exactly what I was looking for, and this is current. This is kind of being developed. It's not yet implemented in the field, which is exactly what I'm looking for, and I'm currently talking with some people to try and get the tools to perhaps perform some test streams. So this is all from stepping back from what I know already and kind of taking a fresh look. I found a load more documentation and a load of more information as to achieve it. I just wanted to quickly pop up here, and I think it's it might have just been there actually. So here we go. This is it. This is exactly what we're looking at. So the 3D audio baseline, MPEG-H 3D audio, profile low complexity, level 1, 2, or 3. So there are 3 levels of MPEG-H, and they all describe the different complexities. So we start with level 1, and we go into level 2, and we're achieving level 3, and that's one of the main components of that is the number of channels possible. So this is all part of OMAF. You see, this MPEG OMAF keeps popping up. So this is something that I've kind of jumped on, and if I'm just going to pop over back to my browser, I've been getting in touch with some of the people at Fraunhofer. I've sent out a few emails, just waiting for some replies in order to try and clarify some things, get the tools, and then potentially start working together some prototypes. That's all on the MPEG side of things. On the other side of things, it's kind of been made clear that I need to perhaps do some case studies and look at some other approaches. So I've got in touch with an ex-colleague at Dolby, who I spoke specifically with about virtual reality streaming, and hopefully they can get back to me with something that I can talk to you about. I spoke to Ben at G Audio, interestingly enough, because G Audio have been talking about them doing streaming, which is great, and I wanted to know a little bit more about that, and it turns out that they're not actually using their VRWorks software to perform the streams. They're using the AAC codec, utilizing 5.1, so that's kind of 6 channels, and they're using microphone arrays and streaming that way. So they've obviously got a workflow. He's not letting me in on that, but that's fine. That's their IP. That's, you know, that's up to them. But I can see how they would do that. And another one that I want to get in contact with is the BBC have done a lot of work, and they did some VR live streams for, I think, the World Cup. Now I was speaking to a different colleague at Dolby about it, and also a little while back, and also a lecturer at the university has brought this up, and potentially we will be having a visit from the BBC R&D in the next coming weeks at the university, so I will be using that as an opportunity to try and find out a little bit more about that. So there's maybe 2 or 3 case studies there. From there, I'm going to just start writing into my literature review. I've got 1,300 words. There's plenty to work on here, and that's pretty much what I'm going to be doing today. So I'm just going to be jumping in, trying to get as much written down as I can, many more notes, and then gonna go meet with my final year supervisor, and then start making a bit more of a concise plan as to where I want to go with my lit review. That's it. I'll speak to you guys again soon.